Okay, love that you're here.
Oh, glad to be
I've
here.
got Canada's passion coach in my house. Oh, I have lots to talk to you, but we've got all night.
Yes.
We might keep the camera rolling all night. Dan, who's our camera guy back there, he might be staying and we're going to be talking. But
Lovely.
So you talk to people all over Canada, North America, really the world,
Europe.
right? Everywhere, about sex and passion relationships. And I've been in your sessions, which I've loved and learned a lot. But my question is, you also have a daughter.
I do. She's 10.
She's 10. How do you talk to her about sex in a healthy way? Because I've had mothers come up to me when I've been speaking and say, I don't even know how to talk to her or him. I'm embarrassed. I don't know if I can do it. What would you say? And how do you even begin?
Well, like you said, I do it professionally, so I speak to men and women all the time about sex. And I remember the first time Riley asked me a question. She was actually 7. I was researching for my book, and I had a book called The Science of Orgasm sitting out on my desk, which is a very technical. It sounds fun, but it's really not fun. It's very technical in nature. And she walked up to me and she goes, "Mom, what's orgasm?" And I wanted to giggle like a schoolgirl. Like, I do this professionally, and I just about lost it in front of her. And so that is what I say to parents when they're talking to their kids about sex: is you have to become comfortable with the uncomfortable, because it's never going to get easy. It doesn't matter how good at communicating these things are. When it's your kid that you're talking to, it's just going to be uncomfortable. And as long as you understand that, you can navigate all the tumultuous waters.
So do you wait until they have an interest, or do you just sort of go in and say, okay, you know what, they're 10, they're 11 now, or they got their period, now's the time, even if they haven't questioned you about it?
I find that parents are much more comfortable with the subject if they understand the stages, what's going to happen to their child in growth and development in different blocks of stages of development. They understand what they need to communicate to their kids during those development stages, and they start to do it slightly ahead of the curve. And the reason for that is twofold. First off, the kids aren't going to get misinformation from somewhere else, from some kid on the playground.
Just what I did. I'm guilty. I got that bad information on the playground.
You don't want your kids to get bad information, but secondly, you want to communicate the information through your filter, through your value system. So if you're telling them slightly ahead of the curve, they're going to get some solid information.
Oh, that's good. That's really good. Switching now to adults, because since you're here, I want to get into the nitty-gritty.
Get all the information.
Yeah. One of the things that I find fascinating, that when you talk about a healthy sexual relationship with a couple, you talk a lot about communication.
Yes.
Now,
Huge.
when I hear that, it's like, but when I think about having a healthy sexual relationship, it's about the act of sex. It's that, and then you go, no, it's actually communication, which is, you're like, oh.
Right.
I didn't think about that.
Right.
Talk to me about that.
Well, it's amazing to me that people can communicate on just about any topic under the sun, but they hate talking about sex. And it doesn't matter how long they've known each other, it's a very difficult subject. It's a vulnerable subject, right? It makes us feel uncertain, and you don't want to ask a question and get a really bad response back. It just crushes your ego, you know what I mean? So people are hesitant, and oftentimes they just don't touch it with a 10-foot pole. They will not talk about it. And yet the problem with that is that our bodies change over lifetime. We have different circumstances that hit us during our lives. And if we're not talking about these things actively, oftentimes we can go off the rails, get into a ditch, and then it's really difficult to start practicing talking about it then, because things are broken and things need to be fixed.
So when you're saying communicating, like if there's issues, if we're not being satisfied, all that kind of thing, you're saying you need to talk about these things.
Well, even more basically, like when things are going well, you should check in with each other every couple weeks and say, hey, what are you loving about our sex life? What is your favorite thing that's going on in our relationship right now? And then once you get that piece of information, you can say, okay, is there anything else that you want in our sex life? Do we need to be a little more creative? Do we need to get a little more education? Do we need to have more date nights that we plan? And when you're asking these sorts of positive questions, it creates a culture of communication, so that when things get rough, because every relationship has rough patches, that's just normal, then you've built the foundation and it's easier to communicate.
That is so good. It's about communication, folks. It really is, eh?
It is, absolutely.
That is really key. Thank you. That is
You're
really
welcome.
good stuff. And I think I'm going to be coming back to you and asking you a ton of other questions.
Absolutely.
Not just tonight, but ongoing throughout the next weeks and months.
I would love that.
All right, thanks.
Thanks.